Traveller men and traveller women die younger. Traveller men have a life expectancy that is 15 years less than settled Irish men, and traveller women have a life expectancy of 12 years less. Traveller men are 6.5 times more likely to die by suicide than settled Irish men, and traveller women are 5 times more likely to die by suicide. A traveller baby born in Ireland is almost 4 times more likely to die as an infant than a baby born in a settled Irish family. These are the stark findings of the All-Ireland Traveller Health Study in 2010. The study concludes that the social determinants of health have a major impact on the health of the traveller population. The Southern Traveller Health Network and University College Cork carried out research to explore the food choices of traveller women in Cork and Kerry, and the relationship between food and exercise with overweight and obesity among traveller women. This study concluded that there are multiple factors influencing on the food and exercise choices of traveller women. Ongoing racism and discrimination have negative impacts on our identity, our self-respect and our self-esteem. This affects the choices we make about food and exercise. For example, leading to comfort eating and eating due to stress and boredom. High levels of ongoing stress also have a major impact on our choices about food and exercise. For us as traveller women, stress is a continuous daily reality, caused by dealing with problems in accommodation, employment, health and education. None of these issues occur in isolation. They are usually all happening at the same time. The root of many of these issues is the racism and discrimination we experience on a daily basis. Food customs of the traveller community, for example, preparing a lot of food in case family members call in and we don't have enough to go around. Also, old and recent experiences of consistent lack of access to good food due to limited resources also play a role in the choices made. The high cost of food and greater access to less healthy food that is cheaper also plays a role. The responsibility of being caregivers for the wider extended family as well as the nuclear family impacts on our food and exercise choices due to the limited time available and the associated pressures. All of the above leads to feelings of hopelessness, feelings of inability to change things, and ultimately feelings of being overwhelmed. This affects the choices we make about food and exercise. The study reinforced the evidence that the social determinants are the key factors that impact on the food and exercise choices and ultimately the health of traveller women. So what are the social determinants of health for us as travellers?
To me, the social determinants of health are like a big onion that you need to cut with a knife to see all the different parts, one on top of the other. Every part tells a different thing about me and my life, like where I was born, how I will grow up, how I will live, if I will work, and how I will get older. The middle bit of the onion is about me and the things that make me the way I am, like if I am a boy or a girl and that I am a traveller. Lots of things about me were passed on from my family when I was a baby growing in my mummy's womb. Those are things I can do very little to change. What I eat every day, how much I run around and play, and when I get older, if I drink alcohol or smoke, will all affect my health. But these choices are just a small part of the big onion that makes up the picture of my health. Health really starts for me in the next part of the onion. If I have a strong, loving family and if I feel safe in my community with neighbours that are kind to me and my family. Health starts in school where me and my friends can learn, where everyone is kind and nobody is left out, and where teachers send us children home safe and happy at the end of the day. Health starts with spaces to play, paths and roadways that are safe for walking and cycling, and shops for us to get healthy food. Health will come to me with a job that suits what I am able to do and in a workplace that respects everyone and is safe. To be healthy, you need to be able to have the time and money to look after yourself too. I know this because my mummy and daddy work very hard, and if they get a bit of time for themselves, they always feel better. What I know is that my health is affected more by where I was born than any choices I make or things that I do each day. Health is different for everybody, even in the one country or even in the one town. It's not that we were born so different, but everything around us, the society, culture, and the services we can get can all be different. So that makes our health different from someone else's. So, in the end, my health is not only about my choices or my actions, but that my place in the world influences my choices and that determines my health.
What has emerged from the stories and experiences of traveller women in the research to date is that the social determinants of health are compounded by discrimination for traveller women in Ireland. Discrimination is toxic to health. The narrative of these stories is that discrimination has a devastating impact on individual travellers and the traveller community at large.
Accommodation for travellers has been in crisis for a long time and predates the current homeless crisis. Travellers want to live with the extended family in traveller-specific accommodation, such as sites and group housing schemes. Local authorities are not building traveller accommodation despite the fact that money is allocated from central government but is not drawn down by local authorities. Nor are local authorities offering houses to travellers. In the private rented market, travellers have to hide their identity to get a house and live in fear of eviction if their identity is discovered. So a lot of young travellers are doubling up, staying with their parents in trailers out the back of their houses. Sleeping on sofas, and large families are sharing facilities, which leads to stress within the family. Many families are at breaking point.
Travellers' experience of education have been very poor. In the past, traveller children in the education system have been segregated from settled and treated differently. For travellers, the school system is not inclusive of diversity. There is a culture of low expectation of travelling children in school. Many travellers in post-primary schools do not need to do their homework, are allowed shorter timetables, and if they leave school before the legal requirement, nobody bothers to find out why. Travellers do value education, but because of their experiences, they don't have any faith in the system.
Travellers are an ethnic minority, making up less than 1% of the population. Traditionally, we live and work in the same space. We live with the extended family, which provides a great support structure. We have our own distinct history that dates back hundreds of years. Our identity is very important to us. The fact that we have been able to resist decades of state policies to force us to become settled people proves this. Because we are different and refuse to conform, we experience very high levels of discrimination, both at an individual and an institutional level. No more than any other community, all travellers are not the same. There are many different traveller groupings throughout the country, and some travellers are more traditional than others. Travellers in general tend to hold on to what makes them travellers for fear of losing their sense of themselves and still not being accepted by settled people.
Travellers are very resourceful and can turn their hand to different trades. This has allowed them to come through difficult times. In recent years, travellers' culture and the traditional ways of travellers' economy have been damaged, leaving travellers limited opportunities to make a living. Travellers working in mainstream employment are forced to hide their identity and tend not to last long, finding it hard to cope with the pressures of having to pretend you're someone you're not. Because the education system does not work well for travellers,
and the added issues of discrimination, travellers find it impossible to access good employment.
The All-Ireland Traveller Health Study showed that traveller women had a higher uptake of cervical cancer screening and breast check than the settled population. This was down to the role of traveller primary healthcare workers within traveller projects, where travellers felt safe and understood. This shows that travellers will access services and take up services when they feel safe and when it is done in a respectful and non-judgmental way. But travellers have a lack of confidence in the health services, even going to the GP. Fear of being judged and looked down on. Fear of not being understood. Travellers get put on medication not knowing what it is for, how long they should be on it and the side effects, and most travellers wouldn't have the confidence to question the GP about medication. Travellers living on sites might not get hospital appointment letters. Even those that do get the letters can forget the dates, given all the rest of the issues going on, such as accommodation problems, education, and family responsibilities. It's not that the traveller missed their appointments on purpose. It's not prioritised, given all the other stresses going on in our lives.
We as travellers are the key agents of change in relation to exploring aspects of our culture that are amenable to change and which could lead to more positive health determinants for traveller women. Travellers want to work in partnership with other sectors to address wider health determinants, and we want to lead the developments of new initiatives. So what can we do to improve the health of traveller women? Let's have the improvement of traveller health as a goal for all our policies, not just our health service policies, but also our housing policies, our employment policies, our education policies, etc. Let's create new opportunities for better health by investing in health where it starts, in our families, homes, schools and jobs. Let's treat people well and equally. Let's make respect for each other central to how we work. Let's take a stance against discrimination of the traveller community. It takes courage to recognise and challenge discriminatory practice. For more information, visit www.ihrec.ie.
We should make our minds up that when people are excluded and unjust and in a divisive way on the basis of characteristics, that is racism. So let us put an end to it.